Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to the video. My name is Mark. I'm an English reaver to Islam, and a couple of years ago, I started learning the classical Arabic language. I did everything that I've done online, and Alhamdulillah, now I've started teaching people how to speak and understand and translate the classical Arabic language. So what I've started to do recently is I've uploaded onto YouTube, for example, my courses which teach you how to read the Arabic language as well as the Quran. And then I'm in the process of now uploading courses which teach you how to speak and understand the language. And I also have grammar courses which will be uploaded in the near future as well. So with that being said, in this video, I'm basically just sharing my own opinions on the journey that I've had so far and what I find to be more and less effective when it comes to language learning, especially when you're doing it online. A lot of people take the approach of basically focusing heavily on the core grammar concepts and then basically just reading and translating. Now, whilst that is extremely beneficial, and anyone who has that opinion, I support them and I think that it's very good. And you also have to remember that different people benefit from different learning methods. However, from my personal experience, I have benefited massively from the process of trying to speak and practice the language, and as well as that, listening to the language. I mean, the classical Arabic Fusha being spoken as much as possible. And don't get me wrong, the grammar is very important and it's needed for a correct understanding. And I absolutely love Arabic grammar, so I study it all as much as I possibly can. I love talking about it, I love reading, I love translating. But I'm trying to say that I feel ultimately that the process of listening to the language a lot, I mean, trying to immerse yourself by listening minimum 1 hour a day, but hopefully 2, 3, 4 hours a day if you have the capability to do so. It doesn't have to be active listening. You could just be passive listening, like driving to the car. You could be in the shops. Like when I'm in the shops, when I'm doing pretty much anything, I've got my AirPods in and I'm listening to a podcast or what have you. So with that being said, I then try to speak with native speakers on a daily basis. Now I know that people don't all have access to speak with native speakers, okay? Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided me with this through the means of making dua and persisting. I believe I would ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help me achieve my goals, and He would provide me with people that would help me to go ahead and do that. So Alhamdulillah, I'm very blessed that throughout that journey, for example, I met a brother from Egypt and he became my best friend, and he has massively helped me in speaking and understanding and what have you. I now have also met other people that I'm friends with. MashaAllah, I speak with some brothers on a daily basis and we practice the language and we use the language as much as we possibly can. Now, as I said, I know that not everyone's got access to this, so I've created an online community for brothers, and that online community gives you access to doing that. So I do lessons 5 days a week. Each lesson is an hour and a half, and in those lessons, we do teach grammar, we do teach translation, we do have all that kind of stuff, but we focus on speaking and speaking as much as possible, even if it's not accurate, even if you make a mistake, but you're exposing yourself to the language and you're trying to express yourself, and you're basically trying to simulate the experience as much as you possibly can from the comfort of your bedroom of being in an Arab country and having to use the language on a daily basis. So that's available in the link below if you want to go ahead and join that. That's free. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment because I will try my best to get back to you. And yeah, assalamu alaikum, enjoy the video. Because if you say Aina Walittu, you mean where was I born?
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
thing is, you know that and I know that, okay? But knowing it and doing it in a conversation and actually using it and understanding it when you hear it on the fly organically, they're not the same thing. Like I know 100% if I say ana uridu and then I say an, I should say adhaba. After an, we've discussed that before if you remember.
Yeah, of
After an,
course. After N, we have the A at the end.
yeah, and so I say ana uridu an adhaba. The amount of times I'm speaking, I know that I'm teaching this, you know what I mean? But the amount of times I'm speaking and I say مثلًا أنا أريد أن أذهب like this, and I make that mistake. It happens all the time. So I don't personally think that without just completely leaving off conversation is a good thing. And I also don't think that you really understand the word until you've heard it being said in a conversation and you understood what it meant, and then you're able to use that word yourself whenever you need to use that word. That's in my opinion that you've actually acquired that word. Does that make sense?
So like your way is like to memorize the word and like to hear it in a conversation.
For example, let's just say here we read this, yeah, and we
Okay.
can extract vocabulary from this text,
Hmm.
yeah. مثلا يمارس الناس بعض الأنشطة. So I don't know if you know what that means.
Yeah, like I know, like people practice. or like, right?
Yes,
Some I don't know what's
it's activities, right?
activities. Yeah, okay.
We can read this and we can extract the meaning. But what I noticed when I started, I would focus on reading this stuff, and then I would read this as many times as I needed to until I understood this entire section in Arabic. Okay? But the problem is
You said
that
what? You
I
you read it and you what? Sorry.
so when I started, before I started practicing speaking, yeah,
Okay.
what I would do is the same process that brother Yusuf Molan is explaining,
Mm-hmm.
which is that you look at the text and I can read it without the harakat. You know, يمارس الناس بعض الأنشطة للترويح عن النفس. نعم. ويطلب الناس الترويح بعد عناء العمل أو الدراسة. So I
So
know
you
how
would
to read it without the harakat.
and you would
Okay.
understood it. You would understood it when you read it,
Yeah,
right?
so then I would go through, I'll translate each word, I'd figure out, I'd get the translation right, I'd go through, translate it, figure out the grammar, figure out what the meaning is. Okay.
And how did
So
it
this
work
is
out?
so this is beneficial. And then now I can know, okay, this word I know what it means, this word I know what it means, I know what the whole sentence means and what have you. But the problem with that method, in my opinion, is that you're there's no audible, there's nothing happening when you're not listening and understanding, you're reading and understanding. They're two separate things. Does that make sense? So what happens if you only read and then translate into your language and read and translate and read and translate, you're missing the key skill that you want, in my opinion, which is when, for example, you listen to the imam in the prayer and he's reciting the Quran, you want to be able to hear it and understand it, in my opinion. Right? You want to be able to listen to the scholars and benefit from their lectures and what have you, not only books. Would you agree?
You mean like, for example, let's say like you don't want to hear it first and translate it, like you've already talked about it, like you don't want to hear it and say like in your head, okay, this word means this, but like as you hear it, like you know it, right?
Kind of. I guess what I mean is there's two different things, which is that,
Like for
listen,
example, I'm not a native English speaker, and when I hear when we are talking in English, I don't like when you when you are talking to me. I'm not like hearing your sentences and translate it into my own language and then responding. I'm just like speaking as we go. I don't need to like translate it in my own language. Then I can respond to you. So
yes,
are you making that point also in
here
Arabic?
I'm going to explain to you the point I'm making. Okay. So يمارس الناس بعض الأنشطة. Okay. Tell me which words in here do you not understand? In this, I'm going to give you an example of what I mean. Which words do you not know? Can you try to read this, Mehmet, please?
يمارس الناس بعض الأنشطات. Alright.
Yes. And then
Now,
continue.
like لل
Lit,
ترى
yeah. للترويح.
للترويح
Mm,
عن نفسي
yes. عن النفس. Yeah.
عن النفس.
Okay. Do you know what that means?
No, I don't. Like
Yeah,
about
Abdullah.
about نفسي, about self.
Yes. Do you know what this means, Abdullah?
آه عن النفس
We actually went over this before. I just want to I
yeah.
just want to make a point and then we'll go back to the video. Go ahead.
يمارس الناس بعض الأنشطة. The people practice بعض الأنشطة, some activities.
Mhm. للترويح. Do you remember what ترويح?
لا
Okay, it
نسيته.
means recreation. Recreation. Yeah.
نعم.
And then anin nafsi basically means self-recreation. So this basically here means people practice, let's
Different
say,
activity.
various or some activities for self-recreation. That's what it means, okay? So lit tarwih is like for recreation. Okay? Can you
Okay.
just continue to the end here? Mehmet?
وي like how ويطلب, or how is it?
ويطلب
ويطلب الناس ترويح بعد.
الترويحة. So this is the verb.
Okay.
This is the doer. This is the فعل. This is the فاعل. This is مفعول به. So ويطلب
ترويحة.
الناس الترويحة. Yes.
ترويحة بعد. How, like, what's this?
بعد عناء العمل.
عناء العمل.
Mhm. أو just remove that.
أو لدراسة.
أو الدراسة.
أو
أو الدراسة. Okay.
أو الدراسة.
Yes. You can stop there. Okay.
Okay.
So يمارس الناس بعض الأنشطة للترويح عن النفس ويطلب الناس الترويح بعد عناء العمل أو الدراسة. Okay. So let's just عناء. Do you know what يطلب means?
No.
Abdullah, do you know?
لا forgot.
Okay, so it can mean to request, طلب يطلب, but here it basically means to like seek. Basically, like people, the people seek الترويح. What did that mean?
People seek activities
No, that's
after
أنشطة. That's أنشطة. So الترويح, what is الترويح?
recreation. People seek
Recreation.
recreation.
Okay. So people seek recreation after بعد. So this is basically like the stresses or the difficulties or the hardships or something of work and study. Yeah.
After
See?
the stress of work or study. Okay.
Okay. So let's go over it again. I just want to see if I can make a point to you. Yeah? So what is يمارس? Let's go over this. What does this one mean? Yeah, Ahmed, you can do that, and then Abdullah, you do the next one.
Okay, so people like
Can you read it in Arabic first? And I know
okay,
I took away the harakat on purpose. Yeah.
okay,
Normally, when you read this, you read it with the harakat. But
okay,
don't worry about that. I just want you to tell me if you can read it. I'll help you and then translate it.
okay. يمارس الناس بعد الأنشطات
Mhm.
للترويح عن النفس.
Yes. Translation?
Like people exercise, like
Oh,
people
practice.
practice
Yeah.
various or some activities
Mhm.
lit for like self like
Rec.
self recreation.
Yeah. So this is kind of like for recreation of the self, but
Or,
translation self recreation, right?
okay.
Okay, Abdullah.
ويطلب
ويط-
ويطلب
ويطلب ويطلب.
ويطلب الناس
No,
الترويح.
this is the fa'il. So the الناس is the doer, the fa'il, and الترويح is the مفعول به, the object. Okay.
ويطلب الناس للترويح.
ويطلب الناس الترويح. Yeah.
ويطلب الناس
لا.
الترويح. ويطلب الناس الترويح بعد عناء العمل
Mm.
أو الدراسة.
Okay. What was the translation?
The people seek recreation after the stress
Yeah, the stress.
of
Yes.
work and study.
Okay. So now you have a general idea of what this means. Agreed?
Now,
So now the point is that this is just a random passage. Yeah. My point is that for you now can understand generally, if you read this enough times, you can generally understand what you're looking at and what it means. Would you agree? If we read this 10 times, you probably get it. If we just read these two sentences,
Yeah.
right? Now, there's two issues, right? this word is not being used in your own organic sentence, right? So if you want to learn this word, in my opinion, you have to
Which
take
one?
this word and you have to use it in your conversations. Agreed?
Okay, but which word are you talking about?
Any of the words that you deem important that you want to take out of this. Otherwise, the whole point of reading is to comprehend what you're reading and then be able to acquire vocabulary, right?
Yeah.
You want to understand what you're reading and then you want to increase your vocab, right? So, in my opinion, only reading and translating, which is what we've just done, is not sufficient to be able to to be able to really truly understand this like a native speaker. Does that make sense? Because what I'm going to do now is I'm like, for example, I'm going to take it away, okay? And now I want you to listen to me read it, and I want you to understand. I want you to tell me how much of it you understand. يمارس الناس بعض الأنشطة للترويح عن النفس ويطلب الناس الترويح بعد عناء العمل والدراسة. How much of it did you understand after only hearing it?
Like
Some of it because it
it, it was
translated.
it was not so much like when I read it.
You understood less. Would you agree?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
understood less.
Because you cannot see the words. It's a different part of the brain now which is functioning. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
When I put the word in front of you, you actually see the form of the word, and you're using a different part of your brain to understand what the sentence means by reading it.
maybe because those two are two different skills. Maybe like
That's my opinion.
if you were like if we read it and we translated it, okay, now we know roughly what's the translation saying when we read it. But if you like spoke to us those words, and if we like translated it, then maybe we can like understand it next time you speak.
Not only that, what I'm saying is what I would actually do in real life is take those words, mix them all around, and use them in a completely different context in a completely different sentence.
Mhm.
What is the chances that that you would understand that sentence well if you'd only ever read those words and you'd never heard them being used in a conversation and you'd never used them yourself?
But
Do you see my point?
Yeah.
There's two different skills here. When you're reading and translating, you're using one part of your brain, and that's really good. And we're gonna do that, inshallah. But the other side of it is like, for example, when you're hearing the Quran, I'm telling you, this is my own experience. The amount of times I will hear, for example, the Ustad that was just in the call, Ustad Ahmed, he will say a word which I've read that word many times. And if you showed it to me written down in a sentence, I know what it means. But he says it and I don't recognize the word. It's like I've never heard that word in my life. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? I don't see the word, and he's using it in a context I don't expect, and it's like sometimes like I've never heard that word in my life. I'm like, "What is that?" And then I'll look it up and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, obviously it is that." Because there's two separate parts of the brain that are being used. Does that make sense? When you're
No.
only listening, it's a completely different skill, in my opinion. And then there's a difference between listening and translating into English and listening and understanding with no translation. So in order to have like an organic conversation, you don't want to be sitting there translating each and every word. You just want to understand what's being said, right? And in my opinion, you have to
that of course.
practice. You have to practice every day because I'm speaking to you now, but you guys are understanding what I'm saying, and it's more like you feel what I'm saying more than you logically understand each and every word in the sentence, and you're like thinking, okay, he said understand, and that means this, and then he said you, and then that means me, and you're not doing that, are you?
It just flows. It just
No.
flows, right?
So in order to do that, and this is just my opinion, I agree more with this brother. We have to listen a lot, and we have to speak a lot, the Fusha, and use the words that are in the Quran, and
Mhm.
reading and translation and grammar are below that. So they are important, especially for our goal, which is to understand the Quran and the books of the scholars and the Ahadith, right? They are important, but in order for you to acquire the language, in my opinion, you have to actually practice the language every day. We have to just keep going and going and going. That's my opinion.
Like Ustad, and also like what's my opinion, but like in the last time in the like in less time. I've been lazy with that, but I think like what's my way to go is like to memorize vocab. Like for example, let's say I memorize 10 words every day. In a year, I would know 3,650 words. And like, like imagine if I know so much words when I have the sentences, if I read something or if I'm listening to something, I would like, if I
Yes,
just know the words, I like.
I agree with you, but this is my opinion. And to show you that opinion, look, I don't know if you've ever seen this app. It's called Memrise. And in Memrise,
Right.
basically, you can go like this. You can use it on your phone. You press review, for example, and you type in like Kayfa Haluka, and then you press the next one, and it's a flashcard app. Okay,
Yeah.
it teaches you. You put in 10 words, and then you keep going through the games until you memorize those 10 words. Okay, look, this person here, for example, has been using it. He's got 1,500 points. Okay. Let's see another person. 1 second. This person here, is there anybody else? This person's got 30,000 points. Okay. Now, so as you play the game, you get points. Okay. To show you how much I've used this app to memorize words, I've got 3 million points. And it says that I've memorized more than 2,000 words using this app. So I've used the flashcard system. Right now, what I'm trying to explain, I literally never use this app. I don't do any of that stuff. The way that I memorize vocab now is not by looking at lists of vocabulary, is by speaking every single day with somebody and listening to the language every single day. And then the third thing would be reading. And then once you hear that word, for example, I was listening to the cartoon Flona, and I heard her say, for example, Ya lal raw'a, Ya lal raw'a. She climbs up the tree and she says, Ya lal raw'ati. And what that means is like, oh, how wonderful. Okay. Now, if I want to remember that word, I need to take that phrase and I need to use it in my conversations. Does that make sense? There's so many phrases like when you said like bisarahatin, which means like honestly, right?
Yeah.
If you just take in ya lal raw'a and bisarahatin and you just take 10 other phrases, I'm not saying it's not useful to use them in a flashcard app, but I'm talking when it comes to thousands and thousands of words, you will not once you get to 500 words within your list, the chances of you being able to use any of those words successfully in a sentence gets less and less and less the more you add words. Does that make sense?
Like why is that so?
Because you're just memorizing a word and you're not putting it in a sentence. You're not using that word. You follow? So, for example, if you take the word anshita, which is the word we just, and you take a tarwih and you put all these various words into a flashcard app, you may learn 10 of them very well with the flashcard app. But if you don't use them in a sentence, they're going to be hard to remember when you need them. But if you add 10,000 words to that flashcard app, then each individual word becomes harder to remember. Does that make sense or not?
Like how it becomes like harder to remember.
Okay, let
Like
me explain. What do you think, Abdullah?
It makes sense to me because right when
I'm
you
gonna
said
give you. I'm gonna
Anshita
give you.
too,
Go ahead, sorry.
I had to think back. Right when you said Anshita, I had to think back to what it meant.
Yeah, what is anshita?
It's activities, right?
Yes. Okay. So I'm gonna give you an example. This is how Medina Book 3 is, and this is why I stopped really, to be honest, like going with this. I'm gonna show you like because this is the problem that happened to me. Once I reached Medina Book 3, it would just, for example, they just give you like a list of vocabulary. And that list of vocabulary would literally just be like 50 verbs, you know?
yeah.
And if you try to learn those 50, I would put them into that app and then I would try to learn them. And then I would go through and spend loads of time, trying to learn all these words using that app. And at the end of it, I couldn't, if I just give you this list here, This is an example. This is the lesson. So this is the vocab you're supposed to learn in this lesson. Okay?
Yeah,
And I just give you
they do it also in Medina Book 1, like at the end of the lessons, kalimatun jadid, and like
yes.
they
So imagine
give a
now,
list.
look, all these. So hajja yahujju, dhanna yadhunnu. And you go through all of these, they're on the same pattern. They all sound similar. And you try to go through all of these, and none of them are related to each other, and you've never used them in a sentence. And you spend hours and hours going through the flashcard app trying to remember all these words. And then I ask you, okay, I want you to use every word in a sentence. How likely do you think you will be able to actually use any of them in a sentence? I do mean like you put the flashcard app away, you put your list away, and I want you to say, okay, I want you to use drag, pass, count, abuse, reply, pour, block, smell. I want you to put them all in different sentences and use them with me today in our conversation. It will be difficult. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So like so far, like the best way to memorize the vocab was like, I think it was me writing, not in the flashcard, but in the notebook. I write the
Mm,
words, I translate them, and obviously I picked up some words in the conversation, but I think like going through the lesson which we did, and like for example, like we say a lot of words in Arabic, but it
mm.
doesn't stick in our head. Like some words do, obviously, but most of them don't. And if I go through the lesson again and I wrote them down, those words, that then if I try to use them again in the conversation, I think like for me it works the best. Like just
That's
like
my
to,
point. I'm not saying writing them doesn't work. I'm not saying the flashcards don't work. What I'm saying is these, in order for you to understand this like a native speaker, you have to use it in sentences, in conversations, and hear it being said, and hear it in podcasts many times, and hear it in the on the news, and you use it in your own sentence, and you use it when you're speaking with someone in the masjid, and you use these words. Does that make sense? And I believe they must be used in context as well, not just random. Like like for example, I don't feel like it's that useful to say, oh, I think, I thought about, going to the gym, and then I make another sentence. The man pulled the car. The next one, I passed by the dog. The next one, I like to count sheep. And you just put them in random sentences that have no meaning to you. In my opinion, when you're trying to remember a thousand words just like this, the more words you add, the harder it is. But if you actually take all of these words and you actually use them in your conversation with me over the next month, you take all these words and you say, every day I'm going to take one of these words, I'm going to use it in the conversation, and we're going to discuss a subject around a bad smell, and you use it, and you say, oh, I was in the market today, and this man smelled very bad, and I smelled this horrible smell, and I didn't know what it was, and it smelled like this, and you use it. In my opinion, you're much more likely to remember the word. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Well, that's my opinion anyway. Hmm?
like if you use the word you learn, like maybe you hear it, or you like spoke it, or like you wrote
Yes.
it.
Yes, and the main thing that I'm trying to say is that when you're looking at the words with your eyes and you're reading them and you're understanding them, it's not the same as when you hear the word. So when you hear the word, in my opinion, the best way to acquire the understanding of words through audio is by listening and then speaking and then hearing the person respond. And if you understood it when they used it using their words, not by writing, and you heard it and you understood it, now you understand the word properly. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to make a distinction, basically, between when you read a word on a piece of paper and you
Okay.
understand what that word means. It's different from when you hear him speaking and you hear him say the word and you have no writing. I remove this, I remove even the subtitles from the screen. There's no writing and it's only listening.
But if I,
Th-
for example,
There's a
let's say
different skill.
I learned كثير, and I wrote it down, and I understand what it means. But if I heard him clearly say that word, I think I would know what it
Yeah, I
means.
would agree. I would agree with that. You'd understand it. But what I'm saying is, if you add One word is easy, and 5 words are easy, and 100 words are easy. But as I said, I use that app, that flashcard app, to do more than 3,000 words. And once you get past 1,000 words, if you're not using those words, the the effectiveness of that process becomes less and less. Does that make sense or no?
Like, I mean, it could be that, but I don't know. I haven't reached
That
that
I'm
level
telling
when you
you, I'm telling you my own opinion. That's
So
my
you
own opinion. I use that app to
so
get
let's
to
say
do more than 2,000 words, and in my opinion, more plus 1,000 words, it just becomes less and less effective because you just
so
add
like
like 50 random verbs. You go through the process of writing it down or whatever, but how are you going to use 50? Or if I give you 100 verbs, if you don't use those 100 verbs, it will be much harder to remember them. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying that the more words you add, the less effective that process becomes if you
so,
don't practice the language.
so you said so you would say your opinion. Let's say you're now on 3,000 words like written down, and let's say you need a word from like when it's 800, like you would say it becomes less effective when you have more and more words, like you can't
That,
remember them. And
that's what I'm saying.
maybe
If I
like
give you 10
could be.
words,
I haven't
it
reached
will
that
work.
level, so I can know how it is. But you did it, like you
Yes.
memorized.
So yeah, just to let's go ahead and finish this. But my opinion, basically, if I give you 10 words, you can use a flashcard or writing method. It will work very well. You'll be able to remember those 10 words. But if I now give you 10,000 words, and I say you're not going to use these words, you're not going to speak these words. You're just going to write down 10,000 words, and then after you wrote down all the 10,000 words or you did your flashcards or whatever, I'm going to play the podcast for you. You've never heard a podcast in your life, but you have written down 10,000 words, so you should understand everything in the podcast. Agreed?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
It,
you should.
it's- it doesn't work like that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
No,
You have like you have more knowledge. You've
I
done
think
it.
if I
So
if if I
I
took an experiment, I said, don't listen to the language, don't practice the language, don't read any books. I'm just going to give you 10,000 Arabic words, like in a list, like this one. Yeah. And I want you to just write them all down. You're not going to practice the language. You're not going to listen. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to write down words. Then I'm going to play a 2-hour podcast for you. I think that you'd barely understand anything in the podcast. That's just my opinion.
Mhm.
I think you have to practice the words. You have to
But
take the word that you
let
like. You have to practice it.
but
Go
is
on.
it like can this method be good, like to write down those words, to memorize them, and also when it comes to speaking, like to use them, to use like those words? And is that
Not
a
making. Yeah, I'm not making an argument that you shouldn't write them down. That I'm not. I'm just. That's not what I'm saying. You writing them down is effective, but I'm making an argument that practicing the language and listening to the language a lot is more effective and it's easier. If you listen to this podcast, 100 times, you would hear him repeat the same words over and over and over again and over again. And so long as we go through the process of going through and understanding what does each word mean, in my opinion, it's a much easier and faster and more natural way to acquire a language. The same way children acquire the language. Children acquire the language. I don't. If my son needs to learn new words, how does he learn them? He's 5 years old.
he's
He speaks
listening?
English. Do I just give him a list of 100 words and I sit him down and say, memorize these 100 words?
No, like he's listening to the language. And
He's listening and then he's copying and he's using, you know what I mean? And then when he makes a mistake, I correct him. He said, I goed to the shops and I buyed something. I said, no, I went to the shops and I bought something. The point is he's using the words, and that's the
yeah,
natural way of learning a language. Anyway, should we finish this?
yeah, let's do it.
Sorry
No.
for taking you on a long tangent.
No
That's just
problem.
my opinion. I think practicing is very, very important. Basically, is what I'm trying to
And
say.
like let's say for example we learn, like me and Abdullah or any other guy, let's say I learn 10 new verbs or words which he doesn't know, and he learns 10 ones which I don't know. Like how should we, like, if we speak and we trying to use them and we acquire them, like what should we, for example, let's say I ask him لماذا انتقلت, and he does know what's انتقلت, and he does know what, like, what's the meaning of that, like.
What if you're just speaking just you two and I'm not there?
Yeah. Yeah, just we two.
Then he can ask you what does it mean, and you tell him, and then you say the
Yeah.
sentence again. Or he should look it up. So when I'm speaking with that ustad,
Mm-hmm.
I as I said, I think you need to learn the process of writing. That's why I'm trying to encourage you to do the homework. You need to learn how to type and
Mm-hmm.
on your key on your phone and on the laptop. So then when he says things I don't understand, which he does,
Yeah, you're right.
I've got that process. As I said, I built this process here. I want you to listen to the audio and I want you to type it out. You need that skill because I've built that skill. I don't have to stop him in the middle of his conversation to say, "Oh, I heard a word I didn't understand. Please, can you tell me what it means in English?" I don't have to do that. I heard the word and I've acquired, I've improved my skill through listening so that when I hear a word, I can type that word. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Okay.
Because I've done many, many exercises of listening and typing and listening and typing. So I have to think, what did I hear? If I hear يمارس الناس بعض الأنشطة للترويح عن النفس. You need the skill to be able to you hear what I said and you need to be able to write that out. If you can develop that skill, which is what I'm trying to encourage you guys to do, in this homework,
Mm-hmm.
then what you can then do is then both of you could speak just in Arabic. And if he said هل انتقلت إلى هذه المدينة and he didn't know what that meant, Abdullah, you can just type it in on your phone or on the laptop and figure out what it means, right?
Yeah.
But you need to be able to do that quickly in a real conversation, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because if you're gonna take like 1 minute to look up intaqala, it's like it's a bit awkward. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's fine.
But ideally, you need to practice, with someone who's a bit higher level than you, so that they
Yeah,
like the way that we're
they,
practicing.
they get you, and they can respond immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I think. Anyway, let's listen, inshallah. Can you hear it?
علينا أن
Yeah.
نفعله
نعم.
بانتظام. العمل يجعل الإنسان قويا ونشيطا كذلك، ولكن بنفس الوقت هناك مشاكل.
To give you a point, like I'm not gonna go on it again, but would you agree that if I take away the subtitles, okay, there's no English, so understanding it with the subtitles is hard. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
But if I remove the subtitles and you can only go from what you hear, it's more difficult. Would you agree?
Especially if I listen if I listen 2 or 3 sentences, then I can't remember from my memory what he said exactly. Like that, that's
Exactly.
even
So
harder.
that's what I'm trying to say. If you only do the process of reading and translating, and you do not see the words written down, like even you see them written on the screen now, it becomes very, very difficult when I take away the subtitles and I just play it, and then I'm like, okay, what did he say? What did the words mean? Can you remember what he said? You can't remember
Yeah,
what he said.
like if he said
But you
like 2
don't,
3 sentences, I couldn't remember like most of it. What like that's
and a lot of the time you can't even differentiate between each word. Where does the word start and finish? It's easy when it's on writing, right? When you see the word written down, you can see where there's the word finish. But when a person is speaking, you have to increase that skill and do it a lot and repeat it a lot and do the homework exercises and listen to podcasts and what have you, so that your brain starts understanding in this sentence, where does the word start and finish? So if I said للترويح عن النفس, you have to be able to figure out like how many words are in that sentence,
Mhm.
right? What are the words? What are the letters? It's much more difficult than if I write it here, the difficulty becomes a lot easier. Would you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you write it, it's like a lot easier. Yeah, of course.
But when you're speaking to someone or you're hearing the Quran in the prayer, you don't have that. That whole skill is not there. So then you're sitting and if you sometimes you can read it in the Quran and you can understand it, but then when you hear it, you're not feeling it. It's not there. The meaning is not you're not understanding it like a native person understands it. Because you're
Also,
only ever
like
looking at the page and looking at the words. You're not hearing it from the audio, you know? Like I said, I'm speaking to you now and you understand what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but you're not reading what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, let's continue.
نفعل شيء يجب علينا أن نفعله. انتظام. العمل يجعل الإنسان قويا ونشيطا
We did
كذلك.
this yesterday, right?
ولكن بنفس الوقت هناك مشاكل العمل.
Did we do
ما هي
this,
مشاكل؟
Abdullah?
No.
Yeah, so we went through all of this. So I'm just gonna let it play, yeah? I'll tell you when we start. So try your best now. Actually, let's do the experiment. I'm gonna take away that, yeah?
Personally, what I struggle with is, like, for example, hearing him say 2-3 sentences, and when you said to him, like, can you repeat what he said, like, I struggle with that so much. Like,
That's why we're doing this, right? To practice this process. Because now, like, we went over this yesterday with the subtitles and we translated it. That is much easier what we did yesterday. But now I'm gonna play it and you just have to listen and just try to understand what he said. But with no subtitles. So the difficulty is much higher, right? Would you agree? So the process that you would need to do is, for example, you would want to do what I do, which is you listen to it, you transcribe it. You know how I've been writing out the cartoon?
yeah.
I listen to it every single sentence. I write down what I hear in Arabic. If I don't understand a word, I search up the word
Mhm.
and then I read it again. And then I listen to that section again. And I think, how much did I understand? If I didn't understand something, I look at what I wrote down. Does that make sense? And I keep following that process until when I hear everything that was said in that section, I understand everything. I don't need to see it written down.
So that's your method for listening, like writing out words which you hear, and, like, when you go back, you try it again. So until you can.
Yeah. So, for example, like, that's what I did with this cartoon right here, right?
Yeah.
So what I did is I wrote it down. So I was listening to it with no subtitles. I'm trying to figure out what she said. Then I write it down. Anything that I'm struggling with, like there's a couple of sentences that I cannot understand, like especially in the first episode, the very last thing she said, I don't know what she said,
Mhm.
right? I can't figure it out. I put it on very slow. I can't figure out what she said. So I'm going to go to my teacher and I'm going to ask him, what did she say here? You know, then I'm going to write it down and then I'm going to try to help my ears understand, what did she actually say? What are the letters that she mentioned? Does that make sense?
Okay.
Now to know if I've understood it or not, I need to be able, I would go through again and I'll say هذه بيرن عاصمة سويسرا تشاهدون أمامكم نهر اسمه النهر يجري شمالا. And then I continue and I read through everything. If I don't understand a word, I look up the word. But then I'll listen to the cartoon again and I'll see, because now I understand everything that I see when it's written. But when I
Now you
hear it,
need
do
to
I
listen.
understand it? Now I need to understand again. And then if I don't understand, I do the same process again. Every
Okay.
time I find something I didn't understand, I go back, I read it again because I've already written it. I don't have to write it. You could write it again if you want to, but I go back and I read it again. And then I go back and I listen again. And I'm trying to get to the stage where I can hear the entire
And
episode
understand.
with no reading, no subtitles, nothing. I only just hear and I understood everything that's been said.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So anyway, that would be the process to follow. So let's listen to where we got up to and see how much you get.
المال يساعدنا في شراء الطعام، الخبز، الحليب، كل شيء. ملابس مثل تيشيرت، بنطلون وأشياء أخرى. العمل أيضا يعلمنا الانتظام، أي أننا يجب علينا أن نستيقظ كل يوم في الساعة 7 ونذهب إلى العمل، وهذا هو الانتظام، أي كل يوم نحن نفعل شيء يجب علينا أن نفعله. انتظام. العمل يجعل الإنسان قويا ونشيطا كذلك. ولكن بنفس الوقت هناك مشاكل العمل. ما هي مشاكل العمل؟ مشاكل العمل مثلا العمل
I think you might have left before we did this, Mehmet, yesterday.
Yeah, I could have left. Yeah.
مشاكل العمل مثلا العمل يسبب تعب. نحن نتعب كثيرا عندما نعمل ساعات طويلة، وحقا بعض الناس يعملون ساعات طويلة.
Okay, so that's where we got up to. Okay, I'm going to put the subtitles back on. So the point is, for example, Abdullah, we went through that section yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Now you listen to it again, and if you didn't understand it, you go back to the video that we recorded. We recorded it as a lesson. You watch you watch the video through, just skip to that section, try to figure out again what's being said, try to understand it, watch it again with the subtitles. If you didn't understand it, go back to the lesson, and then try to repeat that process until you remove the subtitles and you understand 90% of what's been said in that section. And yeah, does that take a lot of work? Does that take a lot of time?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course it does. But you know, I've come to realize that learning a language is not that easy.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder than it seems. Wallahi, I was telling my teacher I started 5 years ago, and I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't think that I would be, after 5 years, only at the stage I'm at. I thought,
You thought you would be more advanced, right?
yeah, 100%.
Uh-huh.
But I think you guys have an advantage, which is that I'm trying to provide for you what I didn't have, because the first 3 years of me studying was just basically only Medina books, and I was studying by myself most of the time, and I was doing no listening and no practicing speaking. So I've been studying 3 years, and I literally can't have a conversation. I
Let's say,
literally can't say, "Hello, how are you? Where are you from? How old
and
are you?"
let's say you from 2 years ago when you were on the Medina book 3, when you finished it, and let's say I come and I'm speaking to you with the level I'm on, could you follow me?
No,
And
you
really?
would be at a higher level than I was at that point.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's my point. It's that, but I was very good in grammar, and
Yeah, yeah,
if I
yeah.
read something, I understand it. You know what I mean? I can read and translate. That's what I'm strong at. So I'm not saying that's not important. I'm just saying that I didn't acquire the language, which is what I want. I want to hear the language. I want to be able to watch this video or watch a scholar,
Yeah.
and he's speaking and he's giving you advice, and I'm listening to a podcast from a scholar, and I want to understand what he's saying. I want to put the Quran on when I'm driving in my car, and I need the guidance from the Quran.
Yeah.
But if I only ever have just reading and translation, even if that's still good, but it's not what I want. I want to acquire the language. I want to understand the language when I hear it, not only when I read it. You know what I mean? So when I'm
Yeah.
listening to this guy with no subtitles, I want to understand what he's saying,
Yeah.
So that's my point. Not that reading and translating is not important. Not that writing down words is not important. I'm saying priority, listening and speaking is at the top of the priority. So if you're going to spend, if you only have 1 hour a day, you can either spend that 1 hour by writing words down,
Mhm.
or you can spend that 1 hour by speaking and practicing the language. My personal opinion, you should spend the hour speaking and practicing the language.
Yeah, and when you were doing Medina books, when you finished Medina book 3, were you consistent? Were you putting hours in and
Yeah, I was doing it every day, but a lot of the time I was doing it by myself, or
Mhm.
with it. I was doing it with my friend. Sometimes I had a teacher. It was a long journey, and I understood what the Medina book is teaching. I understood it well. You
Mhm.
know, I memorized all the words. I memorized more than 1,000 words from Medina book. I memorized all the words. You know,
Yeah.
but I only understood them when I read them. But if
Mhm.
I hear them, I didn't understand. It's like I've never heard the word before. You know. So I'm just trying to say I think it's completely two different things. So everything is important, but in my opinion, practicing and listening is what children do. They listen and they practice. They listen, they practice. They listen, they practice, and they become native speakers. You know, that's the way the child does it. Now, if the child wants to be very good in the language, then they acquire the skills of grammar, reading, writing, understanding all that kind of stuff. It's all important, but it's not if you're looking at the priority list, you know, then I think that listening and practicing speaking is at the top of the list. And then grammar and writing and reading and translating, they're lower down. That's just my opinion. Anyway. So
العمل يسبب التعب. نحن نتعب كثيرا عندما نعمل ساعات طويلة.
that's where we finished, yeah, Abdullah. Remember?
نعم.
Okay, cool.
وحقا بعض الناس يعملون ساعات طويلة جدا.
Okay, Mehmed, you can do that, yeah?
بعد الناس وحقا.
Yeah, this is the first word.
وحقا بعض الناس يعملون ساعات طويلة جدا.
Should I translate it immediately or read it also?
Can you say it and then
بعض
translate it?
الناس يعملون ساعة طويلا جدا.
Okay, so he said حقا, yeah, حقا.
حقا.
بعض الناس. So
بعض
don't the subtitles are not deceptive, yeah? So let's listen to it again, yeah?
طويلة.
And also he's not saying the vowels on the end of the word, so I'll explain what that will be quickly.
وحقا بعض الناس يعملون ساعات طويلة جدا.
Try again.
Like وحقا
Mm.
بعض الناس يعملون ساعات طويلا جدا.
Okay. So, yeah, Abdullah, how are you gonna read it before we translate it? I want to see if you remember what I taught you yesterday.
ساعات طويلة جدا.
Okay. وحقا بعض الناس يعملون ساعات طويلة جدا. That will be
نعم.
with the harakat, okay?
Mhm.
We've explained that yesterday in the lesson, so I don't want to go back on that because I took like half an hour on that, okay?
Yeah.
And what's the translation, Mehmed?
Like, and honestly,
Oh yeah, or truly, yeah,
or truly, some people work like long hours, very long hours, for very
yeah,
long hours.
yeah, very long hours.
وأحيانا يكون العمل صعبا جدا. صعبا جدا.
Okay, Abdullah, can you? I can play it again if you want.
وأحيانا يكون العمل صعبا جدا. Oh, start on my phone. Damn.
Okay. Okay, can you read it, Mehmet? I'll play it again one more time. Yeah.
وأحيانا.
I mean, just listen to it.
وأحيانا يكون العمل صعبا جدا. صعبا جدا. الشيء الذي.
Okay, go ahead.
وأحيانا يكون العمل صعبا جدا. And he repeated صعبا جدا.
Yes. So translation?
وأحيانا, like, and sometimes,
Yes.
like, what's يكون, like.
So the present tense of kana. Kana yakunu.
And sometimes the work is like very hard, like, right?
Yes, very hard. Now, remember we talked about kana yakunu.
And why is
When
the
kana
yakunu
comes
there? Like, what's
you have what? Sorry?
why is the yakunu there? Like, what is he doing in the sentence?
It just means it is or
But
will be.
like,
So basically, it means so ahyanan sometimes. So yakunu. Okay, remember when we had kana in the sentence, it changes the mubtada and khabar, right?
yeah,
What is the mubtada called?
اسمه كان.
Yes. So and would that be mansub or marfu' or majroor?
It would be مرفوع.
Yes. So that's what you're gonna say. Yakunu al-amalu. And then
صعبا.
the khabaru kana is gonna be
with a فتحة. صعبا
mansub.
جدا.
Yes. So that's why you say وأحيانا يكون العمل صعبا جدا. Yeah.
Like, but is he using sorry, like is he using yakunu in the future tense here? Like sometimes work can be like hard, or like, but there is no need to put is because Arabs don't use it, right?
You just said it. So you can translate. You have to take it from the context. It could either mean, and sometimes work is very hard, or work will be very hard.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So
But
if
yeah,
you want to say will be, then saying يكون العمل صعبا جدا is probably like closer, as in like, and sometimes work is, or like sometimes work will be very difficult.
but
Right?
if I said وأحيانا العمل صعب جدا, you will translate it as sometimes work is hard. Like I don't need to put like yakunu if I want to say is, right?
Yeah. If you say that, you say like أحيانا العمل, then you just say صعب جدا
Mm-hmm.
because it's just مبتدا and خبر. But the
Okay,
way
but
he's used it, like as you said, you could maybe say, and sometimes like work will be very difficult. It's fine to do that, yeah. Okay,
okay,
continue.
yeah.
صعبا جدا. الشيء الذي يتعلق
Yeah.
بموضوع العمل هو أيضا العطلة والإجازة.
Okay, I'm gonna play that bit again, yeah.
Should I do it?
يتعلق
Yeah, let's listen a
صعبا
couple
جدا.
times.
الشيء الذي يتعلق بموضوع العمل هو أيضا العطلة والإجازة. إذا
I'll play
في
one more time and
نهاية
you can read it.
الشيء الذي يتعلق بموضوع العمل هو أيضا العطلة.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. الشيء الذي يتعلق بموضوع العمل هو أيضا عطلة.
يتعلق بموضوع العمل هو أيضا العطلة والإجازة.
العطلة والإجازة.
Yes. Okay. So it's الشيء
الشيء
الذي يتعلق بموضوع العمل. Like بموضوع العمل هو
بموضوع
أيضا العطلة والإجازة. Okay.
Okay.
So what's the translation?
شيء like a thing which is connected with the topic of work. It is
Yes.
also
الشيء
عطلة.
الذي
I remember
يتعلق
something. It is like vacation,
بموضوع
right?
العمل هو أيضا العطلة.
It is
So what is
also
عطلة?
it is also عطلة, vacation, or right?
No, holiday.
Holiday, yeah, and إجازة is vacation, right?
Vacation.
Vacation.
Yes, I think vocation means it means something different. If you say vocation, I
What
think
you
that
said,
means like,
vocation.
yeah. So vocation is different from vacation.
I have never heard that word, vocation.
Vocation basically, yeah, I think it has a different word to vacation.
So is
yeah,
it vocation or vacation?
it's vacation.
Vacation. Okay.
Yeah, that means like a holiday.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't in England. We don't use the word vacation. We just say holiday. But I think in America and Canada and what have you, they use
Yeah.
vacation a lot, right?
Could be, yeah.
I'm gonna play this one last sentence, then we have to go. Okay.
العطلة والإجازة. إذا في نهاية الأسبوع يحب الناس أن يستريحوا.
Okay. Okay.
إذا في نهاية الأسبوع.
Okay. Yeah, Abdullah.
So إذا في نهاية الأسبوع إذا في نهاية الأسبوع then in
What do you think, Mahmoud?
Like نهاية. Then in the beginning of like
That's
the beginning.
Bidayah.
So نهاية was the like ending, right?
no.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Then
mudaf ilayhi. So it's like then, comma. This is saying it's not in. It'd be like in English. It'd be like at the end of
Okay.
The week.
The week. Yeah.
At the end of the
يحب
week.
Yes.
الناس أن يستريحوا.
يحب الناس أن
Yesterday.
يستريحوا. Translation, Mehmet?
Like people love. I would guess to rest, right?
Yeah, to relax,
To
basically.
relax. Okay.
Okay. The word is normally يستريحون. When you're talking about plural, 3 or more people, the verb would be يستريحون. Okay. If
So
you have an in the sentence, it makes the verb after it mansub. The present tense verb will be mansub.
okay.
Okay, how you say أنا أريد أن أذهب. Yeah, أنا أريد أن أشتري. You put a fatha instead of a dhamma, right?
Right.
So the words like يستريحون, if they become mansub, they drop the noon. Exactly like that. So the word يستريحون, when it's mansub, it becomes يحب الناس أن يستريحوا. Okay?
And how should we know like which words are they?
1 second. I'll just explain it.
يستريح is a verb or noun?
It's a verb.
Uh-huh.
1 second. Where's my? I'll show you super quick. Yeah.
Okay.
So and then we can go. So we said that the present tense verb can be marfu' or mansub or majzoom. So adhabu, adhaba, adhab. Yeah, you remember that or not?
So it can be like present tense, command, and past tense.
No.
This is okay. Okay.
Past tense, present tense, command. Only the present tense we discuss marfu' and mansub and majzoom. The past tense we don't discuss it. With the amr we don't. With the command we don't discuss it. So
And
this is
what was the
only
majzoom?
related. Sorry,
What was the majzoom?
majzoom is when it has a sukun.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this explains it for you, for example, perfectly here. Okay, so huwa, yuridu. So this verb is present tense. All of these are present tense, yeah? So this is marfu'. When you have an, it becomes yadrusa instead of yadrusu.
Yeah.
When you have the li, then it says liyafhama. It also makes it mansub. And then if you have lam, it makes it majzoom. So yafhamu becomes yafham. There's other reasons, but these are the most common ones. Okay.
Okay.
So as you can see, when you say anti, turidin, it
Yeah.
says tadrusin, tafhamin. All of them have a noon at the end with a fatha.
Yeah.
But when tadrusin becomes, it comes after an, then it becomes
Tadrusin.
mansub and the noon is dropped. Okay. So tafhamina becomes tafhami and tadrusina becomes tadrusi. Okay. So what I was explaining is the present tense like plural. So let's say hum yuri. 1 second. Hum yuridu. So let's huwa yuridu. Yeah.
Yeah. Who are you reading?
Okay. They hum yuriduna. Okay. Then if we want to say study, then you say, or let's say go. Like let's say they want to go to the university. Okay. So yuriduna, and to go would be yadhhabuna. Agreed?
يذهبون. Okay.
So, but then yadhhabuna is now after an. So it
So we
becomes
say
mansub and we take off the noon like this. So it'd be hum yuriduna an yadhhabu ila al-jami'ati. You
so
don't say
like
hum yuriduna an yadhhabuna.
so
Yeah?
like it's like with every verb which becomes mansub, right? We like left out. We leave the noon in the plural.
Yes. Except for the one that's the third person feminine one, because that one is a different rule.
So like yuriduna and like it would be like standard darabuna. Like is that a plural to hit?
No, that would be yadribuna.
Okay, yeah,
So
yadribuna.
hum yuriduna an yadribu.
And we would say and yadribu. Okay, okay.
Yeah. So the same thing when you say here, anti turidina an tadrusi. Hum يريدون أن يدرسوا.
And same thing applies for I saw it here with مجزوم, right? لم تفهمي.
Yeah, the same thing like that.
Okay.
But basically, because if you look at the word, it already ends with a noon with a fatha when it's marfu'. So to show that it's mansub, it changes in a way. They just remove the noon. You know what I mean?
So like this applies with mansub, with majzoom, and also does it apply with marfu, like majroor?
Majroor is not to do with present tense. So this is present tense verbs.
Because what's then litafhami?
Sorry, Ustad, I have to
Down
go.
That's fine. So litafhami, it's also
Assalamu
mansub.
alaikum, Abdullah.
Alaikum
Ah,
assalam.
So
It's
it's
also-
also
So present tense verbs, marfu', mansub, majzoom. That's it. Nouns, marfu', mansub, majroor. So they're different.
so like verbs don't have majroor, right?
No.
And for
Yeah,
example, if verbs have li, we like they are mansub,
Mansub.
right? Okay.
Yeah. And also like likay. So li means basically in order to, and also so likay.
So that
مثلا أنا أريد أن أدرس اللغة العربية. So أنا أريد أن أدرس
adrus,
لكي أفهم, not
so
أفهم. Or أنا أريد أن أدرس لأفهم. So li and likay, like they also make it mansub. There's other reasons why it could be mansub or majzoom, but these are the most reason. Like these ones come all the time.
so also likay and like what and li, they make it also mansub, so we put an a at the end.
Yeah, basically. But then if it's a noun that ends with una, sorry, a present tense verb that ends with una or ina, when it's mansub, you just remove the noon instead. Yeah.
So like could we say that likay and li also work for the like female? Like for example, I've said to female هل تريدين أن تدرسي هذه اللغة لكي تفهمي هذه
Yeah.
اللغة or
Yeah,
لتفهمي.
that's
I
exact-
also drop it.
Yeah, you say likay tafhami.
Okay.
Okay,
Or
so
I can say
basically,
لتفهمي, right?
yeah, you can say أنتِ تريدين, or مثلا هل أنتِ تريدين أن تدرسي في الجامعة لتفهمي, or لكي تفهمي. But you won't say تفهمين after li or likay.
Yeah. So these things just have to be like memorized, like to know them all the times. They are, but they are easy. They are easy, like to.
It's only I'm gonna go through it now that we've pretty much done the majority of the grammar stuff. I'm gonna go through it all again one by one. But I've actually realized that the amount that you need to memorize in terms of rules is not that many. So we'll go over it inshallah. But I need to go
Yeah.
now, inshallah. I'm late now, inshallah.
Okay.